Hello, welcome all back to the 950 Club. And today we are back with the second installment of the 950 Club interviews. I'm Jamaal. I am here with Jack. He is once again out of retirement because I have a talent for enticing him with some of his favorites. So today we have somebody who we feel is the breakout star of 2024. You can hear her voice in some of the biggest and best titles we had this year. You could hear her in Frieren. You could hear her in the Apothecary Diaries. You could hear her in Alya sometimes hides her feelings in Russian. True Beauty.
Her starring
She's
role in
all
True Beauty.
a sign of affection. You can hear her all over the place. And today we have the lovely, talented Rebecca Danae along with us. Hi, Rebecca. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you guys? I'm very excited to be
Well,
here.
it's snowing in Chicago, but hopefully you're okay now avoiding the snow.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
so funny. My boyfriend and I were going to take a trip there.
Ah,
We were going to, and then
Mhm.
for reasons we couldn't go.
That's all right. That's all right. Hopefully, we'll be seeing you all during convention season.
I
So,
I'd love to.
definitely. So, the first question that we always ask everybody is we always get everybody's origin story. So, this is a two-parter. What's your anime origin story? And what is your acting origin story?
Okay, so my anime origin story is I started watching anime when I was very young. I would watch Pokemon with my family. My cousins were very much into it, and then they influenced me to be into Pokemon, and I've played like a lot, like all the games. And
Mhm.
but then I found other types of anime. Like I got one of the first couple ones I watched was like Sergeant Frog. I love Sergeant
Mhm.
Frog, and then I would watch Orange High School Host Club. I'd watch Black Butler, and I would get into so many different shows from my friends' recommendations, like in middle school around that time. It wasn't super popular back then, but it kind
Mhm.
of grew over time, and anime became more popular. And for some reason, it never clicked with me that people were getting paid to voice them till so much later when I was like in college. That's when I'm like, oh, people get paid.
Mhm.
And I was like older at that point. It didn't click with me. But I've always loved anime from a very young age. It was always something special to me, how like a very deep, meaningful, it would influence my life. I wouldn't be where I am today without it, of course. And I eventually, for voiceover, I started experimenting with it during the pandemic in 2020. And
Mhm.
after I graduated from college, I never studied acting. I never did any acting of any sort. I was going to actually have a whole different life probably. But
Mhm.
then I was like, let's try voice acting. And I did it during a time where we had a lot of free time because it was hard to get work. So I took it on and I had a great time. I really meshed with it. It's something that I thought was a hobby at first, but then I started making money and I am able to finally make it like a full-time gig. It is my life now. I love it to death. I I love acting. I love voice acting. Um, and my acting origin was like funny because like I said, I never intended to be an actor. I majored in criminal justice. I minored in psychology. I was not going down that path. I was going to study crime. I was going to help people, help society in a different way. And
Mhm.
it, it was different. Like, I appreciate that I'm able to use my knowledge from those experiences in college, though, from everything I've learned to influence where I am, though, as an actor, because it's not every day you see someone with a criminal justice background as an actor.
Mhm.
um, but I know a lot about criminology and forensic psychology, and that stuff really means a lot to me too. But I just admired this path more. Both are very valid paths. I think I would have been
Absolutely.
happy in both. Um, but this one made me much happier. I don't have to go see people. I can stay at home in a booth and be cozy.
Mhm.
um,
I
but
totally understand that.
yeah, but as
Absolutely.
acting, as I started making it a full-time job, I took acting seriously. I took classes. I took improv. I would go out there and try to get better, learn from others, watch people perform, and try to pick up stuff. And I just developed into someone I'm proud of, and I'm still learning every day from other people.
Oh,
So
good.
that's, yeah.
No, like what was I was gonna say? I was gonna ask in that realm of things with audition because I forgot to ask this in our previous interview. Like, how did that bulletin board come up? Like, how did you find out that Crunchyroll was or Funimation was looking for voice acting?
Um, I don't know if I can answer how to get into Crunchyroll or anything like that.
No, no, I meant in
So,
general. Like, what was like the oh,
oh,
there it
what's
is,
smart?
the
Oh,
hookup essentially. Yeah.
well, the hookup, I guess you can say, is who you know, but then also,
Mhm.
um, but also being a good person. I would say, I auditioned, I worked hard, I built my resume, um, and Crunchyroll was a goal of mine because the people around me inspired me. And I had people around me in my life that influenced me to work harder and become better. Like my partner, he always pushes me to work hard. And he got into Crunchyroll before I did. And then eventually I got in on my own. He didn't actually help me, which is
Mhm.
kind of funny. But yeah.
Invisible influences. Yeah.
hmm But it was, you just work hard. And I just wanted to play pretend as these characters because they meant so much to me growing up. They inspired me to become stronger and learn from because all like anime is so important because there's so many genres and you can learn so much about every character and the growth
Mhm.
that they may have and one you feel more attached to and then you want to be like them. So, and I fell in love with anime and thinking that I could potentially even have a chance to be in it. Of course, I wanted to, and I worked so hard for that.
So, interesting question. So, um, you have that background in psychology.
Mhm.
How has that helped you in your voice acting career with like, because our research department has let us know you put a lot of life experiences into your acting performances that you draw
Mhm.
from. So has that psychology background helped you in your career at all?
Yes, I would say absolutely. Like, I just because I minored in it, I had probably almost the same amount of credits as
Oh,
criminal justice, but I
mhm,
just didn't major in psychology. But I almost had just as many credits. Um,
mhm,
but psychology was so tremendously helpful because I got to see life, the world, in, a different way. When you study criminal justice, which is also very dark, um, you
mhm,
really learn a lot about people and you just see actions. You wonder why they are doing such actions. And what I put into my acting in each character and why I relate to every single one of them is because I focus on empathy, having empathy for each character, and that they are always going to be right to me, no matter what. And even if they're bad, no matter what, they are correct to me. And I really focus on writing backstories for them if they don't have any. I try to give them a reason for where they are. So
mhm.
psychology definitely helps me like do character analysis and study.
That's
If you
interesting.
if you had to pick one character that would fall in that route, or the one that you relate to the most, which one would it be?
All of them, because I really do put myself in every single one of them, but they're just different aspects of my personality and life I put into them. But I've had the most action and scenes with Chugyung because she talks all the time.
Mhm.
There you go. There you go.
So
Yeah.
she is the main lead. She has the most scenes, and that's where I really got to shine and build her. Other characters I had to do on my own, but she already had all the groundwork.
Yeah. Um, I remember hearing that you said you're rolling Frieren with Lawine. Oh my goodness. I'm getting tongue tied here.
Tongue tied.
Lawina, she was a little more challenging for you.
Ah, yes, I did
Um,
say that at one point.
so was it that analysis and background that helped propel you to overcome those challenges with that character? And what have you learned from that experience?
It was very funny at the time because Frieren was such an important series, and I never thought I'd be in it. But she was a challenging character because I'm not used to being kind of like a cold, distant, not very friendly character. Like I'm quiet.
Tsundere.
Yeah, I mean, she is a little bit of a tsundere, kudere, almost a mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so.
But older sister at the same time in a weird way.
Yeah, but that just makes her like she's not just a generic tsundere or kudere. She has
Right.
layers to her. She has so much life. But it was hard to really figure her out because I didn't know that backstory. And I actually didn't even write anything for her. Because sometimes I go in and I write these backstories for them.
Mhm.
And she was the first one that I'm like, I need to write something for her. I need to give her a backstory, why she feels the way she does, why she treats Kana the way she does, whether it be good or not. um, and basically I even made the analysis with her family, how she feels about her siblings, because she has brothers and a mom and probably a dad that I don't know where he is. But I even made like a whole backstory on her. And the first couple episodes were a little rough because I didn't do that. But throughout the series, where I felt challenged because I was going and acting with Maddie Morris, who has been in everything and she's amazing, I really had to buckle down and learn. So write a whole paper about her backstory that I made up. And that's how I really got to learn about her. And I'm going to do that from characters from now on that I feel challenged with. So she was very much a pivotal character for me to learn and give that background to.
Well, if I may poke the hive a little bit, what was some of the backstory they written on for her?
I wrote, because I do remember, that she feels inferior to her brothers. Her brothers are in very high positions of power. Her father is too. He's just not around. But the mother is she's very doting though. But Lavina just feels like she has to be like her brothers and her father because she has to prove something. So it very much is like but she's also arrogant because of it. That's why she lost to the exam.
Yeah, and hard on Kanye. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wrote that her and Kana met like in school because they went to like a magic school before. So I wrote a bit of background about their relationship, how like they didn't really of course they didn't get along at first. And even now, there are moments where they get along and then don't get along. But they very much there's a love that's there, whether it be romantic or not. There is definitely some kind of
Mhm.
love there where they deeply care about each other and they help build each other up in a different way. So I also gave some life into that.
So, interesting question. So, since you write some of these background stories for these characters, does this like give you any interest in script writing?
I don't really have an interest in script
No.
writing. I don't like
Actor writing.
I like writing, but I don't know if I have the energy to write scripts. They're very long scripts and I've seen how they look and I'm like, ugh.
Mhm.
I met great storytellers in my lifetime. Ones that wrote epics and novels in an hour, verbally. But then I would ask them casually, "You got to write this in the book," and they're like, "I'm not a writer." Like
No,
there's
yeah.
that assurance and that knowledge that they know and wisdom too. So I don't
Mhm.
blame
I
them.
like I like to write, but writers also have like such a vocabulary and sometimes I don't have a vocabulary. So
I
they
definitely understand that.
they have like such an extensive wordplay and they know how
Mhm.
to use different words that it's hard to describe because I'm not a writer. um, they're so
Oh no, I
knowledgeable.
get it. I get it.
Yeah.
There's like all these words that it's like we know, but we kind of lean on the same ones.
Yeah, yeah.
And so,
And I'm not good at
yeah.
writing scenes. I've tried to write scenes. I'm like, and I have
Mhm.
it in my head, but I'm like, ah. I
Well,
don't
Well,
know.
everybody's got their own talents.
Hmm.
yeah. And if I may ask, like, do you have like favorite other voice actor favorites, or even actresses and actors, or even directors that number one? These are my number one influences.
I I never really before I did voice acting, I didn't even pay attention to who was out there. The only
Mhm.
one that stuck out to me a long time ago was like Joe DeZija, because he was in Fire Emblem Three Houses, and that was a very important series to me. And that's when I
Phenomenal
started.
game. Phenomenal
Yes,
game.
I love
Yes.
that game
Yes. It's my
so
favorite in the series.
much.
It's my favorite in the
Yes,
series. I played like 4 or 5 of them in a row. I'm like, but then I played that one. I was like, this is the last time I'm playing this game because I barely
yes,
finished it. That was the first one I ever finished. Uh,
yes.
uh,
It's so good. But Joe DeZija, when he posted on YouTube stuff, I was like, he does voice acting, and that's when I finally kind of realized I'm like, oh,
that's
these
a route.
people get paid to do this. And
Mhm.
I was in college around that time. I'm like playing that game constantly. And then I went but I loved Chris Hackney's character. So I went for Dimitri. So. But that's when I was like, he kind of made me click in my head. I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
but I didn't really pay attention to directors for a very long time or actors until I finally was more involved and finally being like, this is a job. I can do this. I'm going to make this full time. And then that's when I was like thinking, all these other big tycoons of voiceover exist. And I
Mhm.
started paying more attention to who voices what. I now go on wikis to be like, oh, who's the English voice actor of this? So then people show up to me. But my biggest inspirations are just kind of the people around me who push me. It's
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's
not
good.
necessarily famous people, you know?
No, I relate. Yeah, it's from the ground up, and you'd be amazed who you meet because it's not to me it sounds like you're about being catapulted up. You'll get the more roles before you know it, kind of thing, and the even
Mhm.
more experienced ones are on the
Mhm.
horizon.
Yeah, I loved being inspired by just the people around me and then learning more too from those who are more experienced and have been here for way longer. So it just means a lot, even being in this.
Okay.
Hey.
So are you a gamer?
uh,
Like, have you been?
I would not consider myself a gamer.
The
I
Mhm.
don't.
three emblems is very specific. I do admit that.
Right?
I played Nintendo, like, but I don't really game that much.
No,
Yeah.
Nintendo's in a weird like trajectory. It's like, oh, it's too kiddie, it's too. But there's been game of the years quietly sneaking up there, and
Yeah,
Switch is one of the greatest consoles ever made.
it's true. I play Switch games. I did play some PC games for a while. I did try Overwatch. I did try uh I tried one of those other shooter games. I'm bad at shooters. I'm really bad at
I'm,
shooters.
yeah, I'm not great at them either.
That's why I
Yeah.
avoided. That's why I avoided Marvel Rivals.
Oh, I know my
Yeah.
partner loves that right now. He's been playing it
Uh,
a lot, but I'm glad that he enjoys it. It's
Mhm.
for some people. I'm just not good at first person. I can probably do like when I can see the character doing stuff, but I can't
Mhm.
first
Yeah.
person. I've gotten sick before, motion sickness. So it's not
Yeah.
really for me. But I
Not
play
really.
Pokemon. I play every Pokemon game that comes out.
That's fun. Like
Hmm.
Nintendo's the only console that like I get every generation. The rest of them,
Yes.
I'm like, maybe I'll get a PlayStation this time, or maybe I'll get. But Nintendo, every time there's a new Nintendo, I always got to get it.
Yes.
Every.
There's so many games. I can't play every game,
Mhm.
but I do just play my select few that I really like and then
Mhm.
go on to the next one if I have time. But I usually don't play that many games.
Right. So like you are a big Pokemon fan. Is it like a goal to like get into that
Yes.
franchise and
or video games in general. You sound like you'd be ready for that.
Oh,
man?
I'd love to. I got into like Duck Detective recently, and that was really cool. That was a recent thing. And it's like Sean Chiplock and some other peers of mine are in it, and I'm just
Mhm.
so happy because that has a Switch port. So like the
Yeah.
first game, the second game, which one? That's the one I'm gonna be in.
Mhm.
I'm very excited.
Wonderful.
So that
So
I'll play that game.
yeah, we'll definitely check that one out too.
It's very cute.
Absolutely.
It's very cute. I love it.
Mhm. Yeah, cute is kind of on brand for you.
Ah,
With the
yes, I want
characters
to be
that
in more. I'd love to be in more games. I'm already in some games, but like
yeah.
it's like gotcha games, which are really cool. I still like them a
Mhm.
lot, but I love stories with characters where I can be more frequent, reoccur, have
Mhm.
more dynamics with characters, and they're just fun. I want to be in more games. That's my goal
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah,
So,
there's a lot of independent games. You'd be surprised. It's just routing up like it's a lot of things. Like gotcha's obviously they're trying quick mobile games, but
yeah.
I've seen a lot of
Mhm.
great indie projects, double down, triple down.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I've been in some visual novel projects where the characters are so interesting and
Yeah,
cool.
that's up
Mhm.
and up trend too. Yeah.
Yeah, I love visual
Yeah.
novels.
Yeah, I like them too. And there's so many rich stories that are in visual novels and in gaming that,
Hmm.
sometimes they don't really get the credit that they deserve, but
Yeah.
there's really good storytelling that's going on in
I
those
love
media.
I love it too because I mean people some people play a lot of crazy games, but I do like a good
Mhm.
campy, cute. I can turn my brain off a bit or I can really get invested with these characters. Like where I don't have to be skilled and I don't have
Mhm.
to be too good and it's just a good time.
I've watched a lot of Twitch and a lot of people have gotten into the query, and that's a visual, scary jump like press a button type of game. So
Oh, the Query? That's
yes.
like Until Dawn developers, right?
Yeah, and a campfire like Friday the 13th with kids, like Stranger Things.
I might sound so ignorant.
Oh,
But
but
I
it's like a weird almost Telltale game. That's what I was trying to get at.
I like those. I like watching them. I'm not probably gonna play them, but I definitely
Yeah.
watch people play them because I think those are really cool. I
Yeah.
want to be in those too
Yeah,
someday.
we're putting it out there.
Thank you.
Everybody
Thank you.
listen.
Thank you. I'd love to.
Yeah. So like you've brought up your partner a few times,
Mm-hmm.
and just in the voice acting space, like I know there's got to be a lot of auditioning and everything.
Mm-hmm.
How important is that like voice acting community for you, and not only like helping and developing your skills and supporting each other because you're all going through this same voice acting journey. So how important is that for you?
You need a support system. Like, this is not an easy field. It's not for the faint of heart. If you feel like you want to quit, you need to surround yourself with people who will tell you how it is and build you up too. But you have to also mentally be okay with that change in you. It's you there's going to be so much rejection. So much rejection. I don't get a majority of my auditions. I don't book everything, of course. That would be crazy. That would be like I'd be so jealous. But um we deal with jealousy though too all the time. We feel inferior. I see people online getting stuff and I'm like, I want to be in that. How'd you get that? But
Mhm.
and you feel scared sometimes. You don't know how to cope with the feeling. And sometimes Crunchyroll, you're not always going to get something. Some
Mhm.
seasons you are going to get more. I had a very successful year, but it doesn't mean I'm going to have a successful year next year. But I pray and hope. We all hope to have wonderful things coming. But just work hard. Be with people who will support you, love you, and let you know that it's okay to feel that way. But you cannot dwell. You cannot feel that way forever. You need to work hard on yourself. And it just really matters who you're around. You have to have good people in your life to encourage you to take the next step because it's not easy. And you don't want people who lie to you. We have many people who lie to each other here.
Oh, oh, yeah, no lying. Lying is stupid.
Yeah, especially when you just
Yes.
finish a tape and send out audition. That yeah,
Yeah.
and that leads to my follow-up question. Like, have you been to the actual headquarters yet for Crunchyroll?
Oh, we do everything in studio.
So there you
So,
go. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, because you started off recording from home. Like I know that's still a transition. Japan does that still. Like there would still be actors working from home kind of stuff. So
I
I've been
didn't
fast.
get, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
No.
I was gonna say that I when I got into Crunchyroll, it was in studio at that point, but they did remote during the pandemic. But
Mhm.
now you have to be in studio, and
Okay.
that's
Okay.
unless certain people get, certain people can record in California at the California studio, I
Right.
think. But um, but overall, you should be. They don't do remote anymore. but that's okay.
Mhm.
It's like,
Yeah, it's still kind of like fascinating how that bubble sprouted out more and more actors. And
mhm.
now it's like back to the basics, back to the roots. It is possible. I'm more curious of how that they're gonna keep bouncing that off. So
Mhm.
I'm not sure. I know that's not really. I just do the job. I'm a contract actor. I just show
Mhm.
up. They get the cool
yeah,
emails, and I just go
yeah,
in, and then I
just
get
do
workouts, and
that.
then I get work outside of it, and just
Mhm.
try to keep working. And now that I have enough characters, I hope to go to cons. So
There you go.
Right.
the next steps. So, but
Do you
that's
prefer
hmm,
working in the studio amongst your peers, or do you prefer like being at home?
um, I'm mostly at home. The studio is like occasionally. I do
Mhm.
love going to the studio when I am asked to be there.
Uh,
It's mostly off and on. I mean, I like both. Yeah, I love to go
mhm.
in. I also like to record from home because it's comfortable.
Right.
So, but they have the cooler technology. I don't know what I'm doing sometimes when I'm trying to record myself for live
Mhm.
sessions. I'm like, ah, what am I doing?
Have you worked with mostly the same voice director or different directors?
Well, every season you have new shows. You have different directors for each show. So
Wow.
I've worked with a vast variety of different directors. So I've worked with like Emily Fajardo for True Beauty, Sean Gann for Alya, Jade Saxton for Frieren. So I've worked with quite a few directors at Crunchy. So
So here's the question.
mm,
So you were talking about the community and how you got to have good people around you. One person that seems like that real good supportive person to have around you would be Rin from Sign of Affection. So that
yes.
is um when we recorded Sign of Affection, Jack said that that was his favorite character on the show.
Ah, yes. She's wonderful.
No joke, no joke.
She's
No
great.
joke.
She's upbeat. She's happy. She works hard. She's just such a loving person. I would want to be friends with her in real life.
Yeah.
And it's also my favorite episode, the specific episode where they go to freaking Costco. I mean, come on.
She had that was a great episode. That and the confession episode, that was like,
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
We get so much Rin love where she's just crazy and I make so many noises.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had to re-listen because once we did this interview, I'm like, okay, I'll finally check out the English, and you knocked it out of the park. You definitely kept the same energy and tone with her.
Yes, because I goofy characters like that sometimes are harder for people, but they're very
Yeah,
easy for me because I'm just all over the place anyway.
no shame in that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
She was such a great character and like she was so supportive
Mhm.
of Yuki, and it was just it was such a natural chemistry there, and
Yeah.
like a legit like I'm your friend, I'm
hmm
here for you regardless,
Yes,
and
it
that
was
really
so
shined
cute.
through.
It was so cute. It meant so much because that show means so much to the deaf community. And I've gone to a con recently, not long ago. It was like my first signing, where a girl came up to me and she was like, she was deaf and she was just trying to speak and be like, I love a sign of affection
Aw.
so much. It means so much you were in it. And it was so like, and I gave her a free sticker because it was so cute. I was like,
Yeah.
you're
All
so,
the autographs, all the
yeah.
photos.
I mean, the prints, they cost a certain amount, but stickers,
Right.
they're just like, here, just please take it.
Fair, fair.
You're so sweet. I love you.
Oh, no shame. But I do have a celebrity question. This is from our collaborator one time, Bianca. She asked in regards to a sign of affection. Although the character is deaf, we still get a voice for her other than her hands to speak to for her, like her inner narrative dialogue. What was the difficulty in speaking for a character no one hears? Only the audience does, or is it the same as speaking for a character that has a physical voice? Like she's basically asking do you relate more and more with people that don't necessarily communicate that well with this experience that you had as Rune?
The thing is, I'm not the most experienced, so I'm not sure if I'm the most qualified to answer, but it definitely has shown me a perspective on it that I'm like, I've never seen before of
Mhm.
the deaf community. And it gives me a greater appreciation for that they can go out there and live their own dreams and that they can work hard on their own and live a normal life too. Oshi was a weird example of him kind of like wanting to shelter
Mhm.
her too much.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I understand that perspective, but at the same time, that's not healthy for a person. No matter who they are, whatever disability they may have, people should be able to live how they want to live.
Yeah. And
It
that's
definitely,
essentially yeah. That was essentially Ruin in a nutshell. Like she was like the bridge, the gap. Like I'm just gonna talk to you.
Mhm.
Like even though I don't do the sign, you can see my voice or see my lips and everything. You know
and they
that's
communicated by like
Well, just
writing or
check.
texting,
Yeah.
so
yeah,
they're not incapable.
yeah, exactly. And that's what's so special about that character. So you knocked it out of the park.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's good because at my job I work with somebody that's deaf. So like just watching that show, it gave me such a greater appreciation, for that community and having that person like Ren there. That's just like I'm just gonna treat you like a normal friend,
Yeah, and
and
I think
she
that's all
really
they could ask for, like to be
absolutely,
treated normally.
absolutely. That's all they want. Like my mom was a special ed teacher, so she dealt with all sorts of different kinds of kids, and the great thing about that is they are so appreciative of those type of people. Like she still gets people that
Yeah.
she taught 20 years ago that's still sending her cards and everything.
Oh, that's
So
so
like
sweet.
it's such a it's just nice. And when you when you talked about that fan that came up and said that that's just that heartwarming spirit of that show just radiates throughout. Like I think
Yes.
everybody can really appreciate the message that was in that show.
Yeah, it really meant a lot being able to be called in for it. I was actually really excited for that show when I first saw it. Like the trailer came out months before. It was one that I was really looking forward to. I didn't know I was going to be in it. But when I got in,
Mhm.
I was like, oh, yay. And it meant a lot that Jason gave me the opportunity to
Mhm.
voice such a fun character who was very open and very kind to everyone.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. So, like going to the other end of the spectrum of love, you were also Ayano from Alya.
Oh man,
So
yeah.
that character was just like on the other complete opposite side. But you played that character so well too, because there was still that she was a scene stealer every time she was in the scene. But you had that deadpan delivery, but she had such, and she was so robotic, but she was so funny at the
Yes.
same time. Like you stole the scene every time you were on there. Like, what was it like to play that character? Because, like, for me, when I went into that show, I was thinking it's going to be like a cutesy sign of affection type thing, and there was a lot more in there than
Yeah,
I thought it was
it was different than what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Choice dialogue. Choice dialogue.
Yeah, it was very funny because
Yeah.
I was excited for that show too. So I'm a fan of so many shows that come out. So
Mm.
that was what I was highly anticipating and looking forward to. Then I saw the content. I'm like, oh, whoa,
Oh
ooh,
yeah.
okay, yeah,
It shocked us too. It's probably like the
yeah.
number one shocker for
I was
me.
like, oh, it's gonna be cute show about he can't. She thinks he doesn't understand Russian, but he does. Oh, it's gonna be so
Mhm.
fun and adorable. And then it's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
but it's
The
very
little
funny.
sister. We
It's
can
so
only say that.
funny.
Yeah.
So you stay around for the comedy because man,
Yes. Yes, absolutely. That's what it was. You stuck around for the comedy.
yeah, because it was. Definitely. I am happy that I got an opportunity to voice such a robotic character like her because it's so hard to voice such flat characters and make them nuanced. It's like
Hmm.
really an accomplishment to add nuance into characters that you can make monotone the whole time. She's not like, she's monotone for anime standards, but she has her own nuance that I wanted to give so
Yeah.
much life and care for. She has lines that are just funny and off the wall, but she's so loyal.
Especially dry, and especially when it's dry. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
a weird balance. Weird balance.
it is. But she's so dedicated and so like
Mm.
caring to Masachika and Yuki, both
Yeah.
of them. And in a way, I think she does care about I'm so used to calling her Miss Cujo.
Oh,
Alya.
the Russian, the
Yeah,
Russian.
the Russian, yes. But in the script, I always call her like Miss Cujo.
Right.
Um, but it was very fun just being that character too. And after that show came out, Rochelle and I, who's Yuki, we became like
Mhm.
super close friends. So we just
Aw.
hang out a lot and we love talking about the show and we're so excited for season 2. So more shenanigans.
Wow,
That's good to
phenomenal.
hear.
And
Wait,
are you going to
wait,
work
wait.
with Rochelle soon? Rochelle soon?
It depends if they put us in something together.
Ah,
I hope we can be in more stuff together. She does like a lot of other fun, cool things outside of voiceover. Like she does commercial stuff, and I'm like, wow, that's incredible. But she's great. But anime means so much to her too. So
Mm. So here's how much has, being in the voice acting field like affected your consumption of anime? Because before, you talked about how you were a big fan, and has like being in the field kind of cut into that? And not only that, are you still able to be a fan? Because I know sometimes when people get in it, you're watching it, and sometimes you can lose yourself in like the technical aspects of it. Or can you still maintain yourself as a fan, like, oh, okay, I still like this without having to like judge your performance or judge somebody else's performance?
uh I still am a fan. Like I'll always be a fan of anime. I don't think that's ever going to leave. But I've definitely consumed a lot less of it over time as I've gotten older because
Mhm.
work, life, I don't have free
Right.
time.
Adult
uh
thing.
yeah,
I got to
life's
work on anime. God dang it!
I work on anime, but I don't have as much time because I work all the time from home on other projects and
Mhm.
I can only watch when I have some downtime or I go watch other things, I watch cooking shows sometimes. But
I watch
Oh,
those a lot too.
yeah,
and,
but
and there
it's
and there are cooking animes. Hey,
yeah, I can't watch
2 to
cooking
1.
animes though. Cooking animes are like hit diff because they're so like real food. Yes, that's realistic, but anime
Mhm.
food like that's too good. No, it's
Yeah,
too
Yeah.
beautiful. I
you just
can't do
you
it.
just want to eat you just want to eat the monitor. Oh my
I
gosh.
Yeah.
know it's so good. Real food I can watch be cooked because I'm like that's real, but like anime
Mhm.
food, But I definitely
I
have
want it and
consumed.
can't have it.
Yes, but I've definitely consumed anime
Mhm.
less often, but I'm still going to be a fan forever. I'm still going to love everything and appreciate everything I'm in and give it so much
Mhm.
care. Whether the show popular or not, I still want to love each character that I can work on and give them depth and attention that they deserve. And I like was the other question like does it affect like what was it?
Um, like has working in the field kind of like affected the way you take in anime? Like
Oh, yes.
'cause, I don't want like
Hmm.
sometimes you hear people that's like, well, here's an example. So Jack and I, we're wrestling fans, right?
Hmm.
And we had this conversation before, like we kind for a while we kind of lost ourselves in trying to like, well, did they make the right decision here? Should this
Mm.
person have won? Blah blah blah.
Yes.
Instead
Oh,
of being
okay.
able to just sit back and just be a fan and enjoy the entertainment for what it
Yeah, yeah.
is.
Yes.
And
Mm.
when me and Jamal go to live events, that's when our mode is turned off. We're just
Yeah,
there for fun for it. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. Yes. It definitely does. It's hard sometimes I'm not going to say which shows exactly, but there are
Right.
some times where the dubs I am very watching the mouth flaps and the acting because
Mhm.
I am also I'm a consumer who enjoys anime, but I'm also wanting to pick up techniques and
Right.
learn from other people and what they do. I can turn my brain off sometimes, especially when it's in the Japanese. I can definitely be like, I can enjoy a performance because it's not in the language that I'm used to.
Mhm.
But in the English, sometimes I look at things and I'm like, I would have done it differently, but maybe that's just their interpretation of it, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, modern thing with a lot of translations is colloquialisms to
Hmm.
tone. Those are
Yeah.
like the number one, number two, like toughest things for an English actor to translate with Japanese, the original
Hmm.
source. So I definitely know what you mean. And my follow up with that is in regards to that is that like, do you concentrate more with tone or do you concentrate more with like the feeling of it?
Uh, Definitely the feeling. I view, for most of my characters, they are actually my natural voice. The exception being like Mei Mei and Ayano. But Rin is my natural voice. Chugyung is my natural voice.
Mhm.
I
And
did like your
Lavina.
May May.
Lavina is my natural voice too.
Okay, yeah. Well, I did like your May May. I did catch a little bit of posturing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was going to be my next question. Like, how was it like? Because we talked about how like Rent or Lawine had that like big sister feel, and May May kind of had that too, but there was a lot of drama that also went with her. So
More
Yes.
what?
el more elegance.
Yes, much more elegant, and there was like you played the role. Like I like how like you have this tone, and we could hear your tone, and like once I started listening to your stuff, I'm like, I could automatically just pick your voice out now. But but you played these characters, so they had these little minute details about them where they did not sound the same. And I appreciated that because I thought your Maymay was really, really good. And that show is one of our favorites. It's definitely going to be another one of our top five favorites of the year. And she was such a great character. Like, how was it to be not only be that character, but to be a part of that show and that franchise? Because um, we like history. Jack is a huge foreign film guy, and so like we kind of just gotta went
Raise a
into
raise the Red Lantern is one of my all time favorite movies. If you ever
that.
seen it, it's wonderful.
But
So,
Mei
mm,
Mei was definitely like she was my first named character. So I was very
mm,
happy at Crunchyroll being like, "Hi, I got Mei Mei."
Wow,
mhm,
wow.
And so she was wonderful and it was such a big series and it heavily inspired, Chinese culture.
right.
And it meant a lot for me culturally to be in such a beautiful show. I'm actually adopted
Yeah.
though, so I don't know much about Chinese culture.
Oh,
Mhm,
still,
So,
yeah.
yeah, but I still have an appreciation for where I came from. And I try to learn as much as I can for the characters that are presented to me. So Mei Mei's had such a beautiful backstory. And, I think about that last episode a lot that she was in because she could have, spoilers, or try to keep it vague, but
It's one of the best. You gotta watch it if you haven't seen it.
yes, it's well, if
Season
you
two
haven't
is
seen it
coming out.
yet, if you
Do it
haven't
right now.
you haven't seen it yet, then spoilers, oh well.
Yeah,
But
the
it's
spoiler is lifted.
but she's definitely like she sacrificed her feelings that she could have
Yeah.
had with this guy that she like he was much older than her, but he
Mhm,
helped her. He took care of her in a different way, but she loved him in maybe a romantic or familiar way, and she wanted to spend life or like her life with him from what I interpreted. But instead, she let those feelings go to for him to be happy with the
mhm,
one he loves and misses. So I couldn't imagine how big that was of her. She's so incredible for that. And I'm
mhm.
just like, she could have had such an easy life, but
Yeah.
she chose not to. But I
Yeah.
was like, oh, girl, cry, pop off.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
girl.
Especially
Yeah.
in that culture and in that time period, like that was such a big deal for her to do, and
Hmm.
that brought so much depth and emotion to that character. So like she was definitely a standout. So for that to be like your first name role was you knocked it out the park for sure.
Yes. I hope to see more of her. I'm not sure where the story goes, but I am very excited for season two.
Yeah, I've only read up to volume 4 or 5. I've yet to like season 2 range. I've yet to read, so I'm
Mhm.
assuming she's around the bend. I'm assuming.
Yeah, here and there, because that's how it was in the
Yeah.
anime. Here and there, she'll show up. Maybe we'll
Mhm.
see. But when
Yeah.
she does, I love seeing her, of course. So it's always a treat.
Aw.
Yeah, she had that big sister vibe. She had that wisdom too to her. So that was such a really cool character.
Yes.
Um, Another one that you played, and I checked this out myself. You were in Nothing Unusual when you played Assuming.
Wow, yeah.
Deep
So,
dive, deep
Deep
dive.
dive.
deep
Man,
dive. We do our research.
I appreciate that
So
you do. I love that when people do.
that was such a fun movie. Like I watched it and I was like, this is really good. And I went there with no expectations. I'm just looking at it and I'm looking at the IMDb and I'm like, okay, I don't know what this is. And I just decided to click it and it was good, but it was a character like right in your wheelhouse because she had
Yes.
so much life and she was just so positive and very inspirational in what she was doing. And
Yes.
that ending was just it hit me right here. Um, so what was it like to play that character?
It was so this you know how long ago that was? That was when I was
Yeah,
first starting out.
yeah.
So that my acting was
Mhm,
at such a different time of its life.
mhm,
So I would say my acting has improved so much since then, but I love it. I love being in it. And she was me. Like that whole character. I mean, growing up, I was an adopted person too. She was
mhm.
also taken in and adopted into a
Yeah.
family where like, she had like an older sister, mother figure, Carita.
Mhm,
And it was so heartwarming seeing those scenes with them together. But it just meant a lot being able to share that story of where she came from and how she just wants to figure herself out in such a she feels like a small person in a big world.
yeah.
And that was a lot of fun. They're working on the second movie.
Look at that.
So
Breaking
I
news.
Wow.
I recorded the lines for that. So not a big shock. I know that like I
Mhm.
didn't sign an NDA for that. So they're working on the
Okay.
second one.
Right. Oh, I'll definitely be looking out for that
Yes.
because it was good and that and thank you for like sharing like that you were adopted. That I know that's a very private thing, but
I think it's
we
such a
appreciate that.
pivotal thing of who I am as an actor because it leaves you with abandonment issues, but
Mhm.
you can really play those characters well.
Yeah.
Really, because you can understand and empathize with people who have
Mhm.
felt the same way you have. And that's why life experiences and experiencing life is so important as an actor, because you wouldn't feel and be able to portray certain things unless you've gone through it yourself or you've done extensive research.
Mhm.
Because I think people can do it, it's just much harder.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. So a couple more questions before we get out of here. Uh, True Beauty, Chu
Yes.
Young. She was such a um, she was such a good character, and this show meant a lot to me because I recently had a daughter, and like that, this whole show like embodies my anxieties of, of having a
Oh,
girl. Um, because there's the beauty standards that are placed on the ladies is just
yes.
so heavy, and
And especially in Korea. Korea is number one in plastic
Yes.
surgery, and
yeah,
it's
Yes.
just
yeah,
like it's like as a man, and then on top of it, American. It's such a culture shock to like
yeah.
understand the tribals and tribulations of Korean women.
Yes. Even I can't really fathom it because I've never really been in Korea before. But I know the
Mhm,
standards are so high, and I knew about the plastic surgery thing, and I'm like,
mhm.
whew. And I was like, am I ready to represent Korea as this character? Uh, but it meant a lot though, because I mean, Asian culture in general puts a lot of expectations on beauty standards,
Yeah.
not just Korea. Japanese products, Chinese products, there's so much that you have to take care of yourself. You have to look as pretty as possible, get rid of any blemishes. Like, and sadly, bullying is, I feel, in some ways much worse in Asian countries. Like, in some ways.
Surprisingly, I've seen and heard, read in
Mhm.
stories. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
But it meant a lot being able to share that story. I fortunately have not been bullied to that extent. I've never
Mhm.
really been bullied, but I've definitely felt like I've been excluded. I felt like I've never like I felt like I haven't fit in to anywhere.
Mhm.
I had trouble making friends growing up, but over time, uh, I've learned how to grow myself, but then also, you know, try to become better as well from feeling left out. And
Mhm.
that's what I was able to portray in True Beauty. The feeling of being alone, not having any friends, lashing out sometimes. She definitely lashed out where she shouldn't have.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
uh
and that's why I appreciate
yeah.
that show. It's like like honest, like black to white. Here you go.
Mhm.
Now you're beautiful. Now you have to deal with it. But
Yeah.
also kind of like that
Mhm.
honesty. Like this is a lot, even for me. That previous life I was bullied for being ugly. Now I'm like,
Now
it's
she's
yeah,
loved for and
Mhm.
it's a lot of pressure for her to maintain
Right.
that. And but she had a good support system.
Mhm.
It was I loved it was almost like a coming out episode of her without makeup, you know? The
Yeah.
coming out of her without makeup of in front of Charin and Sua or
Mhm.
Swa. I say her name wrong a
uh,
lot.
it's
We
tough.
had
Yeah, yeah.
pronunciations in that show were a little
Mhm.
crazy, but that part meant a lot to me. I was getting emotional from that probably more than the bully scenes because it's so hard to
Mhm.
be vulnerable in front of people. I find that harder for me sometimes. So it was a beautiful scene and I love it so much. And her opening herself up even with Suho and those scenes too. It's really she felt like she wasn't alone in those moments and she
Mhm.
really relied on her friends and their friends backed her up and gave her love and they cherished her. And that's what anyone really wants is to be accepted and loved for who they are, not just for
Yeah.
how they look.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's a tough thing. You go from being bullied for being ugly, which I don't know, that didn't really seem like she didn't really seem ugly to me, but I
Yeah, I
know.
Uh,
mean, okay, yeah, the
it's
anime,
anime. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
she was
So,
definitely.
Or it's almost like Anne Hathaway in Princess Diaries. Oh, look at
I mean, even in
glasses
the K
on.
drama, the other K drama, also she wasn't
yeah.
even ugly then either. So we're
No,
like,
no,
No.
no.
yeah, they both aren't really ugly, but they're anime
Right.
ugly. So
They're anime ugly. But there's that, and then you had this makeup in. It's kind of like, how people say, like, people that are bigger and lose weight and that inner fat kid still yells at them or whatever. It's the same sort of thing where it's like, all right, you have to go through these motions, especially as a kid. Like, do they like me for this?
mhm,
Or I got to do this because if I don't, it's all going to come crashing down because the
yeah,
PTSD from being bullied. And I just thought the show portrayed not only like that, but just the whole makeup thing in such an empowering way
because makeup is
instead of,
empowering.
and
Like
I appreciated that.
yeah, I feel like that it's True Beauty is great at like being basically you could it's just basically saying you should just do what you want.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
You should
liberation for sure.
because if you want to wear makeup, you should. If you don't want to, you also should. So do whatever
Mhm.
you want. You don't have to wear makeup or you can if you feel like you want to. I like wearing makeup. It's that's why I enjoy True Beauty because I just am like I like it. I wear
It's a
makeup all the time.
and it's a craft too. And yeah, I've seen like tutorials and like
Yeah,
crazy like
we've
Yes.
all seen them.
stuff. And yeah, you'd be amazed what people can hide and what people can show.
Mhm.
But either way, it doesn't change the person for who they are.
Right.
So
Not by a long
whatever
shot. Yeah,
makeup
agreed.
makeup is really important. At least to me, because I just like it a lot. But
Mhm.
I know that I have people in my life that love and accept me for who I am. Who cares about makeup? You know,
Right.
at that point where I can be vulnerable, you know, because I feel the same insecurities as Chu Young does sometimes. I'm like, will they
Mhm.
think I look a certain way if I don't wear makeup? But most of the time, I have so many supportive friends here that I don't think care. So, but just finding that group of people you can trust. But I know that's hard
Right.
because it might take a long time to find that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, one more question. Another question. So as fans, I know the thought of AI scares us.
Mm,
Um,
yes, it
it
does.
particularly with like we see the way that some shows, Blue Lock, had that
Yeah,
drop in production value, like
I've
cutting
seen that.
corners,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's like the whole advent of AI, it terrifies me because it
yeah.
just seems like another corner that can be cut at
Hmm.
some point, like personally and professionally.
Yeah,
How do you feel about AI in that space?
it's definitely a big concern that voiceover and just artists in general will face.
Mm,
Um, Although realistically, it is kind of inevitable, as unfortunate
mhm.
as it is, but they will never replace people.
Yeah,
I
I
agree.
truly believe it.
and they're sneaking in laws in states. They're
Hmm.
sneaking in it. It's gonna
Yes.
be
Mhm.
like let's figure out the areas in need for AI.
Yeah.
Not
They'll
like
do it,
replacing
sure.
people.
They'll
Yeah,
try,
yeah,
but when it comes down to it, I think they'll regret it because I don't think this is going to be a long-term thing. I think this is just a short-term thing for maybe a couple years of excitement of cutting costs, but then when they realize that nothing's going to go well, then they lost all
Mhm.
that money.
Yeah.
And they could have just spent it on artists or voice actors or people who truly deserve it, you know? No one wants to listen to some AI voice marketing and ad. I
yeah.
do think it's sadly going to get better, but it's I still don't think it's going to have heart.
I agree.
Yeah, and Spotify is trying to like make their own musical artists now.
Hmm.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Didn't we
okay.
try that once before with like a purely AI rapper or something?
Ugh, that
Exactly.
sounds terrible.
That's what
That
I
was
mean.
terrible.
But like, yeah, it's just one of those things where I agree with your stance, Rebecca. Like, it's going to
Mhm.
be
Hmm.
there, but
Yeah, I mean, there are good things about AI though. Like
Absolutely.
there are some really cool things. Like people were saying online that maybe you can find X-rays or certain health things that
Yeah.
would benefit a lot. That would cut down
Hmm.
costs tremendously. Um, of course, I think a human is better, but if we could save more people, then I would be like, sure. But
Yeah.
getting into the arts, no, you don't really do anything in the arts.
yeah, it's like a cherry on top for it. It's like you don't even need to do that. Like, back
Yeah.
off.
Mhm.
And sometimes I would think it would be cool. Maybe I'm not saying that this should happen or will, but if maybe they made the lip flaps a little easier for us
Ah,
sometimes.
full circle,
Yes,
full
yes,
circle.
yes. But overall, I'm very against it.
Mhm.
I am not for it, but I do think it is inevitable. But we'll figure it out.
Mhm.
I think we'll be okay. My voice is sadly probably in a system already, but I'm like, what can you do? Just
Yeah,
do the best you can. Do what you can and do it right.
they've been
Mhm.
collecting data for years. This is how it is.
Probably.
Yeah, they probably got us too, Jack.
Well, they did. They did with our episodes. Man, oh man.
Yeah. So, last couple questions. One, what advice would you give to any aspiring voice actors out there?
Hmm. Advice. This is something that has impacted me personally. That my boyfriend told me when I was feeling uncertain about where I was in voiceover. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. You can't get everything right away, and you will not get everything right away. Um, you have to stay in it for the long haul. You have to be receptive. You have to accept feedback. You have to learn how to be better yourself. And sometimes, it's a hard field. I would always recommend taking classes and just staying in it for the long haul if this is what you want to do. Sometimes this is not what this people just want to experiment, so maybe this isn't for you. But, keep trying if you feel like you want to. It's not for everyone. Yeah, it's not for everyone, but I think
that was really good. Yeah.
All right, you know what? I lied. I have another extra question.
Go ahead.
I have one more myself.
Yes.
Okay. So, like, you never acting. What do you have any aspirations to do, like more live acting?
Yeah,
or just voice acting?
Live
stage
acting. Stage acting. Oh,
Stage acting, movies, TV, aside from like voice acting.
I'm more keen on film than stage acting, but I have not done either. So,
right.
But stage acting terrifies me because I didn't sign up for acting when I was younger because I thought about it and I was like, no, that's terrifying. And then I'm like, voice acting's cool. I don't have to see people. I don't have to act in front of people. So I liked voice acting a lot more. Stage acting scares me. I've done improv. It freaked me out. So it was fun, but I got scared on stage because they had a required end of course thing where you had to go in front of people. But if it came down to it and I were to take acting classes in person, I would do it. Sometimes there might be a stage performance, and I'd also do it because I still think it's an improvement and you still learn something from it, even if it's scary. But I would probably not normally go for it, but I'm open to it if it comes up. I just probably wouldn't be good. I'm not experienced.
Yeah, it's interesting because you hear a lot of like voice actors say that they kind of started in acting on the stage or in school plays and all that. So it's kind of like you're kind of like taking the other side.
I know,
So
it's
very
different.
interesting to hear that story.
Yeah, it is because I know that most people have an acting background, and honestly, they're better because of it. I'm good too, though, from where I came from. I think I'm very good without having that acting background because I've still trained and worked with coaches and learned how to act from them. And I try to take as much feedback as I can and learn from other people, even if I'm not on stage. But I do think if you are going to do acting, stage is a good thing and taking classes is good. You should do it. People should do it.
Jack, you got another question?
Well, it's going to be my final question. Crunchyroll recently announced a new format for the Crunchyroll Anime Awards and all that.
Oh, I haven't looked at that yet.
Well, they're evaluating 5 months instead of 4 months, and then 2025 is going to be, the slate for 4 months from January to December. So, piggybacking off that. You had so many roles this year. You had so many performances this year. If you had to pick one character or a show that should be nominated, like in any category, even for best anime or best performance, which one would you choose?
I'm not going to pick best performance because there was a lot and I didn't watch a lot, but I will say Frieren was really high up there. So Frieren is, of course, IGN just posted about it. I saw it. They're like, Frieren, we voted #1. And I'm like, cool, IGN. That's real cool of you. Do you usually do that? I don't know if you do.
They're notorious. Let's put it that way.
I don't really know if they do, but I don't really know what they do. Personally, I just saw that they did it. I'm like, okay, IGN, okay. But I personally do think Frieren was one of the best shows that came out.
Best shows in general. Like, if we're being honest. Best shows
#1
ever.
on MAL, so
it's better than Game of Thrones. It's better than Sopranos.
Oh, my boyfriend loves Sopranos, but he also loves Frieren. My boyfriend loves Frieren so much. It's like his favorite show too.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
like there's acceptance with it, and I've talked to people that are Lord of the Rings fans, and they're finally checking out anime. They're checking out Frieren, so it's like
Frieren is a high up one. I will say,
Because personally, I picked #1 for me for the year for best show is Apothecary Diaries.
I do think both of those are so solid, though. Yeah, like I think both of them are so good in different ways that that's why it's so hard to narrow it down on what's the best of the best because there's so much
Oh.
genres.
Well, that's how I was trying to go with your
Yeah.
performances because if I had to pick you, if
Mhm.
you were to be nominated, it'd be for True Beauty, my humble opinion.
Oh, thank
Mhm.
you. I really worked hard for it. That was a really fun character.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's sweet. I don't know
Yeah.
about because I don't watch every anime. Like, oh, shock. I don't have time to watch every English dub that we have.
Mhm.
Because that's
There's a
hard.
thousands per
There's
week.
so
No
many.
shame.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I can't really say who was the best performance because I didn't have the time to go through everyone. Um,
Mhm.
but I do think I just think Jill Harris has done good this year for some characters. Masha, I liked her as Fern, of course.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And she's in Nina and the Starry Bride. I think Jill has a lot of solid characters too. Um, Emmy also gets many characters, and Maddie
Mhm.
also. So it's like there's a lot of good options for actresses. On the actor side, I'm biased. My boyfriend, my boyfriend is really
Mhm.
good. He's had a good year too. So,
Or if you had to pick your favorite performance that he did this year.
yes, I loved. He's done so good this year. I'm so proud of him. I love Ryan so much. Um, he's done so good. But I think he really loves his My Hero scenes. Those are really
Mhm.
good.
What was his character again?
He was the young All for One, the young villain guy. Like
No
he ages
way.
down.
No
So
way. I
John
finally caught
Swayze,
up to it.
yeah, John
Yeah.
Swayze ages
Mhm.
down, and then it becomes my boyfriend. So my partner's the younger version and the arguably more attractive version
All
of
right.
of young All for One.
Well,
And
all for one goes for a change. Let's be honest.
yeah. And
Mhm.
then he's going to keep aging down. That's kind of his thing. But
Mhm.
Wow.
spoilers, oh.
I caught up. It's all good.
Yeah, but he that was really good acting. He did so good in that. And recently Delico's Nursery also ended. And he had a really good scene with his character in that too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so he's very good. If you ever want to interview him, he loves doing interviews. He likes talking about himself.
Okay.
Yes.
You know what? That's funny because that leads to the last question that we ask everybody. And the last question that we ask everybody is, if we were to interview somebody, who would it be? And the caveat is you have to put in a good word for us.
Yes. I
So,
would I told my boyfriend I was doing this too. So but I would recommend my partner Ryan Negrone.
mhm.
He's amazing. He's done so good. He's been in My Hero Academia, Delico's Nursery. His first lead was God's Games Replay this year too. So
And you
he's
were
Oh
you
yeah,
were in there too, right?
yeah, you were in
yeah,
it too.
just yeah. She was just like in a couple episodes. I really enjoyed when she did show up. I thought she was gonna do
Mhm.
more, but I know that it was an like anime original, so
Yeah,
but that's sometimes how it is. But I still like her.
she was a good character.
Yeah.
She was a good character. I liked the show. It was all right. I know people kind of like
Hmm.
panned it a little bit. I thought it was interesting. It was cool.
Yeah. And I think he did a good job on it. And
Yeah,
it's
he did great. I
yeah.
liked that character. Yeah.
Yeah. But I recommend him. I also would recommend Rochelle May,
Mhm.
Yuki from Alya. She's also an Apothecaries in Alya, so
Yeah, yeah.
so I always she's wonderful. She's so fun. Um, and then I'd also recommend Monica Flatley, who's had a lot of cool things too. She was in Metallic Rouge this year and some other
Yeah.
awesome shows.
Mhm.
And then also, I keep recommending people.
We're
It
not gonna
just
stop.
keeps on.
Yeah. I also would recommend like Hannah Allier. They're really cool too. They've been in
Mhm.
I'm in Love with the Villainess.
I like that show. That was a good show.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it was Laid Back Camp. They're also in, so
Mhm.
that one's very chill, fun cooking vibes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a Jack favorite as well.
Yes. But those are my friends, and I love all of them, and I recommend them all.
Mhm.
So,
Shout out to your friends and your
yes.
support system. They've done a great job. And thank you for joining us on
Yes,
the
thank you for
950
having
interview.
me. It was so fun.
Thanks for your time,
And
Rebecca.
thank you for your time. And we hope to see you at a convention in Chicago soon.
Well,
We will
ask for us. Ask
definitely
for me and Ryan, and we'd go.
we we as soon as we get off of here, I promise you we will be submitting that to all of them. So
Yes.
we hope to meet you soon.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. And thank you all for joining us for another 950 Club episode. And we'll see you on the flip side. Peace.
Yee.
Yay.
Yeah.